Blackburn.
Good morning. Welcome back to the program. Glad that you've carved out a few minutes to join us today. We certainly have a full Thursday ahead. We're going to start the hour with something that every single one of us is feeling immediately, and that's the cost of food. Grocery prices in Canada are continuing to rise, and it's happened faster than the overall inflation rate and faster than most other G7 countries. Many families are rethinking how they shop and what they buy. We're going to chat with Sylvain Charlebois from Dal in just a few minutes to break down what's driving those food inflation costs. A little later on, tough but necessary conversation about incarceration in Canada. New Stats Can report showing that Indigenous and Black adults continue to be incarcerated at rates far higher than their share of the population. We're going to check in with the East Coast Prison Justice Society about what those numbers really mean here in Nova Scotia, why they persist, and what kind of reforms and community-based solutions are out there and showing promise. A little after 10:30, we're going to check in with CTV special correspondent Steve Murphy. He's going to join us to help make sense of the news headlines from the last couple of days. Everything from lingering power outages after the storm this week to political strategy in Ottawa to growing concern about trust in democracy itself. We'll also ask about the latest Murphy's Logic column that reflected on what the U.S.'s upcoming 250th anniversary says about national identity and the health of democracies more broadly. Then at 11 o'clock, it is your turn, the open hour, your time to shine. Going to open up the phones and talk about everything from, maybe transitional care in West Bedford, traffic congestion in Halifax, the decision by Dal to revoke an honorary degree, some big global questions around Davos, TikTok and Arctic policies. But if it's on your mind, it's on the table this morning. 12:15, we're going to check in with Hope for Wildlife, Hope Swinimer, and talk about the increased coyote activity across parts of the province. I'm going to ask her what's behind this uptick, what residents should know, and how to coexist safely and responsibly with wildlife. Then we're off to New Glasgow to spotlight Summer Street Farm. It's an innovative indoor farming and social enterprise project that's creating food, jobs, and lots of opportunity for people of all abilities. And then we'll wrap up the day with a bit of fun at 12:45. We're going to welcome two Halifax area home chefs from Come Dine with Me Canada. It's going to be airing later this month on the Food Network. So whether you're here for the policy, the people, or the personality, you are in the right place. So let's get started. First up, we are going to talk about something that's hitting every Canadian family right in the wallet, and it's the cost of food. New data shows that grocery prices in Canada are climbing faster than overall inflation and faster than most other G7 countries. In fact, food prices rose more than 6% in late 2025. That trend expected to continue into 2026. It's everyday staples like coffee, beef, dairy, and produce that are costing significantly more than just, a couple of years ago. Many Canadians adjusting how they shop, comparing prices across stores, and changing what they buy. To help us better understand what's driving the increases and whether this trend is likely to continue, we have Sylvain Charlebois, who is the director of Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University and lead author of Canada's Food Price Report. Welcome to the show, Sylvain.
Well, thank you, Lisa.
So listen, Canada has been described as the food inflation capital of the G7, with our grocery prices rising faster than in other major economies. So, on the surface, why are Canadian food prices looking so high compared to our peers?
Well, we're over the last, I'd say probably a couple of decades, Canada has often been number one. We never actually spoke about it, but we do track what else is going on around the world to see whether or not we can learn from other economies, and our situation is just not great. But a lot of the discussion around food inflation has been around cyclical factors or temporary factors like climate change, and of course, a lot of people have been talking about corporate greed, corporate profiteering. Of course, people will come to their own conclusions, But when you actually look at the data over the last 20 years, you can see that Canada has been in a rough spot for a while. And when I say a while, I'd say that our food inflation problems really started back in 2008 with the financial crisis. That's when we saw a clear decoupling between inflation and food inflation. And since that's 18 years ago, and since then we've never actually recovered. And every single month, that gap, that delta between inflation and food inflation has only increased.
So, I mean, I've seen some analysis that suggests Canada's food price problem is it's more structural, that it's not about short-term shocks, but deeper issues in the food distribution and market competition here at home in Canada. Do you agree with that framing at all?
Well, that's kind of what I've been saying for the last 7-8 years. Our problems are structural, absolutely. And so to be clear for your audience, I mean, when you talk about cyclical stuff, you can blame, I don't know, climate change for higher coffee prices, and that's partially true.
or a quick freeze in Florida that it impacts oranges and orange juice. Yeah.
And the situation with beef, well, that's somewhat related to the major drought that impacted North America, cost more to feed cattle, etc. So, yeah, absolutely. Some temporary factors do affect food prices. But the thing is that when you look at the entire food industry, we do have many companies that are not able to absorb systemic shocks. This is the shocker I think for all Canadians. We currently have a tariff-happy president in the United States. Typically, when you apply tariffs on everything, you end up penalizing your consumers, your own consumers. So in this case, Americans. Well, their food inflation is half of what it is in Canada, which doesn't make any sense. So theirs is 3.1%. Ours is 6.2%. How can that be? Well, I'll tell you what's going on. If President Trump tells Tyson, tells Walmart or Costco to eat up the tariff, well, chances are they can. They have options. They have buying power. In Canada, our companies are smaller. We've always had a hard time scaling up companies. We have interprovincial trade barriers that are killing many economies in Canada, starting with the Atlantic. The Atlantic is absolutely disadvantaged because of these barriers, and Premier Houston has been after this for a while now. And, of course, you have supply management. It's the big elephant in the room. A lot of people don't want to talk about supply management, but supply management is a barrier for growth and a barrier that actually makes things more expensive in each province because quotas are managed by provinces. Poor logistics, bad roads, ineffective ports, all of these things combine. And, of course, the carbon tax. We actually released 2 papers on the carbon tax demonstrating that the carbon tax across the supply chain, the compounding effect of the carbon tax is actually impacting our food industry's competitiveness. So all of these things combined are making things much worse for Canadians right now.
So are there particular grocery items or food categories that tend to spike faster here in the Maritimes, compared to other parts of the country?
Well, horticulture is certainly one. I mean, we do grow some fruits and vegetables, but for the rest of the world, it doesn't really benefit Atlantic Canadians. I would say processing is the number one thing. I was actually on a flight earlier this morning with a couple of MPs, and we were talking about this. So there's one thing we need to do to fortify our food supply chain in Canada is to increase manufacturing. And so Prime Minister Carney was in China on Friday, and there was a deal made for canola, for lobster. I think these are great things for Canadians, for the Atlantic Canada, but there was also a deal for processing as well. We need more investments in Canada. We need to make Canada a good place to invest. Aldi just announced that they're opening 180 stores in the U.S. this year, and they already have 2,700 stores. Not a peep about Canada, not one word. Why? There's no area for growth in Canada. There's no, it costs so much to do business in Canada, which is why grocers in Canada do control the market very well, because no one else wants to bother to do business in Canada.
The 2026 food price report projected that food prices would increase another 4 to 6% this year, meaning that the average family is probably going to get dinged another $1,000 or more. What should families be planning for now, and how worried should they be about that forecast?
Well, first of all, Lisa, you can outsmart food inflation. In fact, this weekend I was actually visiting 3 grocery stores in the HRM, and in all 3 stores, people stop me and say, "Oh, where do you shop? What are the deals?" Similar to your question, I mean, and there are ways to save. And so I'd say first thing, look around. Look for stores that you may not even know exist. And I'll plug one case because everyone knows it. It's Grocery Gateway in Dartmouth.
Yeah.
I think because of food inflation, people have started to discover that independents do offer darn good deals. Just don't stop at big shops. Go to smaller shops. They do offer good deals. And try to visit 2 or 3 stores every 2-3 weeks. And that will help you understand what's going on with the market. Loyalty programs, flyers, of course. But what we're seeing in our data right now, Lisa, is that consumers in the Atlantic, in Halifax and elsewhere, they're much more strategic now than ever before. So if there is a good thing about higher food prices, people are extremely careful. So yes, we're predicting that it's going to cost more to feed a family, but you don't have to spend an extra $1,000. You can actually, work around and figure out a new strategy.
And I think, a lot of people are doing that with the flyers, they're just skipping certain items altogether. Listen, my daughter was probably about 13 before she realized that Enjoy Tonight 50% off wasn't a brand name. So, yeah.
Well, good for you. Good for you. Because, a few years ago, I moved to Halifax 10 years ago, and I did go to those shelves, in an obscure corner of the grocery store, the half-offs and the Enjoy Tonight deals, all those products. We bought them. We have 4 kids. I mean, we bought them. And I was on my own. Like, no, not one soul was around us to find these deals. Now you got a lot of people around these shelves, which is great. I mean, you want to take advantage of some of these deals as much as possible.
Yeah. So listen, just to wrap up, there's a lot of talk about grocery competition, policy surrounding that, the labor challenges. From your perspective, what are the most promising steps that government or industry could be taking right now to ease grocery costs?
Well, the one thing, they've already done something, which is to create the code of conduct. It's an obscure concept for people listening in. They're probably going to say, what's the code of conduct? How does that help me? Well, here's the deal. A lot of people think that grocers are gouging consumers. My point here is that, yes, grocers are gouging, but they're gouging suppliers. You see, in the agri-food sector, you have to pay Loblaws, you have to pay Sobeys to do business with them. And every now and then they increase fees, all of a sudden. So guess what happens with suppliers? They increase prices to offset the impact of fees. And so that cat and mouse game is impacting us at the end of the day. The code of conduct will allow suppliers to go to an arbitrator to contest any decisions made by grocers, because they've taken advantage of suppliers. Talk to any suppliers in the Valley, in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. They don't like to deal with grocers because they have too much power, and they're abusing their power. And hopefully that's going to stop with the implementation of the code.
Well, and, perhaps something like the GST holiday, when we had that.
Well, that's the other thing. Absolutely. So taxing food is immoral. It shouldn't be allowed. We saw that last year with the GST holiday. We saw a big break. People took advantage of it. And at the grocery store, people think, well, we only tax bad food. That's not true at all. The ready-to-eat counter is taxed, and many products that have been shrinkflated, that have shrunk because of shrinkflation, some products go from food to snack. And when it becomes a snack, Like, for example, 2 muffins is taxable. 4 muffins is not. The same muffins, okay? Those are so in a box, if you have 6 granola bars, that's not taxable. You go down to 5, that's taxable. It's ridiculous. We need to stop taxing food.
All right. Sylvain Charlebois, director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University and lead author of Canada's Food Price Report. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for your perspective on this.
Take care, Lisa. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. It is 10:15. We're going to take a quick break right now. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the show. Glad to have you with us this morning. We have a new report from StatsCan that's highlighting a persistent and troubling issue in Canada's justice system. Indigenous and Black adults are incarcerated at rates far higher than their share of the general population. So in jurisdictions, including right here in Nova Scotia, Indigenous adults are behind bars at many times the rate of non-Indigenous people. And Black people also incarcerated at disproportionately high rates compared to white Canadians. These gaps reflect decades of structural and systematic forces. They're rooted in marginalization and racial bias. And today we're talking about what these numbers mean for communities here in Nova Scotia and what solutions or reforms are being discussed to address the disparities. Joining us for this conversation is Renford Farrier, who is co-chair of the East Coast Prison Justice Society. Thank you so much for joining us this morning to help us understand this better.
Good morning, Lisa. Can you hear me?
I can indeed. Yes, absolutely. So to begin, I'm doing great. Yeah, so to begin, can you walk us through the key findings of this StatsCan report on incarceration rates? And, particularly, what does it mean for here in Nova Scotia?
So briefly, myself, I'm a former incarcerated person. I was incarcerated for 32 years in our federal systems. I was originally sentenced to only 10. I didn't get any additional time or crimes that gave me that 22 years. I was serving a life sentence. And in Canada, people don't believe that we have the death penalty, but the life sentence is exact that, because they can keep you until you're dead, right? But in terms of the numbers, like from an eye view and not even watching stats or anything like that, our federal systems and depending on the region defines the population of the institutions. If we are out in the prairies, some places out west, we find our Indigenous brothers are the ones that fill up these institutions. Mm-hmm. If we are more to the east in Ontario and coming down to Nova Scotia, we find that Afro-Canadians fill up these spaces. And we ask why, and one of the major reasons and one of the things that define this is the culture that is embedded into CST. And for the most part, the individuals that are parole officers, unit managers, and people who make the decisions are oftenly white.
The judges, the lawyers.
They're white.
Yeah.
And like I like to point out to people, while we've come so far in our society in terms of the way we treat each other, our acceptance and understanding and realizing that the LGBT community, they're individuals and people, the disability community, the mental health aspect of things, we've come so far in all of these things, but yet still our justice system operates on laws made by old white men eons ago.
So now, are there other social and systemic drivers that are behind this kind of disparity?
Oh yeah, 100%. Right, because your geographical positioning on the planet plays a key role. For myself, I grew up in Toronto in Jane and Finch, and it was predominantly Caribbean Black individuals, and it's low-income housing, right? And when you look through corporations and organizations, for most of it, to that matter of fact, the individuals that are above the income gap are usually white. In Canada here, we don't want to admit that we're probably a little bit racist because we're Canada, we're a good country, but we are.
So now, Black Nova Scotians, other Black Canadians, the report shows overrepresentation compared to the general population. And, how do the historical and structural experiences of Black communities in Canada help explain this pattern? I mean, just on the surface, my first thought was when Black Canadians first came here, they certainly were not given the best farmland. So I mean, they were set up for failure from the very beginning, and we still see, the structures and those experiences to this day. I would think that certainly plays a role in this pattern.
Definitely, because if you take, for instance, in Preston, like they go back generations and they're struggling to own the homes and the land that they've lived on generations, right? You look at Africville, when they started their own thing, the government found a way to make sure that stopped. Like the oppression of Black folks is as long as we can remember, and in my parole hearing, when I went up for parole 2 years ago, we were able to show a stat that was irrefutable. The fact that Black men are the least likely to reoffend upon release, but are the least likely to gain parole. So that's why we overpopulate the prison system, because we're not getting parole, right? But the majority of us, we spend the time right through.
And so, a big reason why we are finding out more about this is because, the data collection itself has certainly improved. I mean, we're seeing more data now on race identity and other status that, brings this issue clearer into focus. Do you still see gaps? I mean, what data do we still need to get our hands on to better understand this issue?
The economic gap.
Yeah.
Right? We need to start to look at the economic gap and how money plays a role, and financial literacy plays a role in the elevation of the Indigenous folks, the Black folks, to find better ways of life. Because, like, believe it or not, money is what drives us. And if certain parts of our population are under the gap, they are at more risk to commit more risky things for social living. Right? So if we look, the Indigenous brothers, they placed them on reservations. If you leave the reservations, you can't get your status. So you created a lane to keep them oppressed. Like you've given out one hand, but with the other one taking it back. Right? So then we go to the lower income housing, which are mostly populated by Black folks. In those areas, there is everything to keep you oppressed. Low education, convenience stores that are supplying all kinds of contraband, all kinds of things that help foster oppression. Right? And like you said, as the numbers start to be calculated more, because it's a shame, but in Canada, we are way behind in data collecting in terms of what we're now finding out.
Yeah.
And as we continue to collect these numbers, we're going to find that a lot of the things that our politicians have told us and what we are hearing is not true.
So
right?
now,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, just to wrap up for listeners who are trying to understand what this means in everyday life. I mean, what should we be talking about right now to create meaningful change?
So let's say, like, we create this idea that these guys in prisons are risky and they're the worst of the worst, and we always take the worst of the worst to highlight and gaslight stuff, right? But in all honesty, the worst of the worst are less than 1% of our prison population. Majority of prison population are made up of guys that have committed property offenses that don't warrant 10, 20 years in a federal prison. And we must remember, they are coming back to our society. They're coming to your neighborhood. I am out here now as somebody who served 32 decades living out in free society. We are coming back. So if we don't start to find ways in our judicial system and our correctional system to start to equip guys with the proper tools, so when they re-enter society, they have a mindset of, I want to contribute to the society I'm living in. They don't want to come back with the mindset, I have to hide, I have to be afraid because the society I'm living in is after me to send me back to jail.
All right, Renford, we're going to have to leave it there for now. We're up against the news at the bottom of the hour, but Renford Farrier, listen, really appreciate your time this morning and your insight into this issue. It is much appreciated.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a good day, and thank you again.
Oh, bye-bye. Our pleasure. Thank you. Renford Farrier, co-chair of the East Coast Prison Justice Society. We're going to take a quick break for the news. Blake Priddle standing by. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. You're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment.
Blackburn.
Welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for spending some of your morning with us. Up next, we are going to be chatting with someone that many in the Maritimes knows the sound of very well, CTV special correspondent, analyst, and commentator Steve Murphy. With decades of experience in journalism, Steve brings perspective and clarity to the headlines of the day, and he's also been sharing his thoughts in the Murphy's Logic columns, most recently about what the U.S.'s upcoming 250th anniversary can teach us. Steve, welcome back to the program. Thank you for joining us today.
It's like a reunion of old radio voices here this morning, Lisa.
My Lord, I'll tell you.
A blast from the past. Great to be on with you.
Oh, great to have you to discuss all that's going on in the world. And I want to start with this 250th anniversary, your latest Murphy's Logic column. And it reflects on the U.S. marking this 250th anniversary this year. It's definitely an opportunity for Americans to look back at their history and how they've evolved. And this milestone certainly not just a celebration, but really a moment of reflection. What struck you the most about this anniversary and felt that it was something that you needed to write about?
Well, I think, first of all, you're right. It is an opportunity for the people of the United States to reflect on their 250 years, their considerable accomplishments, their extraordinary successful experiment in democracy. But it's also not just an opportunity, it's also, I think, a necessity for them to reflect on the conditions that created the United States of America.
Exactly.
And I wrote in the piece about a less-known anniversary that occurred 250 years ago last weekend with the publication of a very foundational document in the American Revolutionary Movement that said that the law is king. We need to remember that, 250 years ago, the people of the United States were revolting against a king who was not willing to listen. And they wanted the law to be the king. And I guess I would ask the people of the United States, and I bear no animosity toward most Americans. I think Americans have largely been very good friends and allies, and many are our relations.
Absolutely.
I would ask our friends in the United States to reflect on the conditions in which they now find themselves. And I would ask them, is the law really the king? Or have you returned to the conditions that were revolted against 250 years ago when Thomas Paine wrote that foundational document called Common Sense?
And I guess, you point out something that is very important, and the fact that, they have to reflect as well on what led them to be as successful as they are. And
that's right. And,
that's really the path out of this problem that they've found themselves in.
Well, it's certainly a way forward. I'm not going to sit here and tell you with certainty or confidence, Lisa, that it is the way forward, because the current president of the United States still enjoys a great deal. If it's not support, it's very little opposition within the houses of Congress that were created to be the balance against imperial or extreme presidential power.
Yeah.
The House of Representatives has been extremely compliant with President Trump in his wishes and desires. And the United States Supreme Court has also been rather supplicant when it comes to giving the president his way, although we're waiting for what may be the most important ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court, and that is on the legality of the tariffs.
Yes.
And that could set off a whole other battle with the Congress over whether these tariffs will in fact be implemented as intended in U.S. law. But I do think it is a good opportunity, and I think it is actually, frankly, a necessary moment in history for the people of the United States to reflect on where they came from and ask whether they really want to continue going in that direction.
Yeah.
And they'll have an opportunity to change course in some fashion if they so choose with the midterm elections, which are coming up in November of this year.
So now, are there lessons that Canada can take from watching how the U.S. approaches a milestone like this?
Well, sure. I mean, I think our own democracy should be scrutinized. I've seen changes in the Canadian democracy in my lifetime that I'm not particularly happy with. The concentration of power in the offices of the first ministers, the premiers, and the prime minister. The role of our opposition has been reduced. The role of backbench MPs has been reduced. I think our system works best when many voices are heard and when there is robust and civil debate. And I fear that what has happened really in the last 50 years, and this really happened, I guess, with the election of the first Prime Minister Trudeau, back in the late 1960s, and has gone on with every prime minister since, is that power has been concentrated in the Privy Council office or in the prime minister's office, so much so that the backbench members of parliament really have very little sway and very little authority. We witnessed, for example, with the Liberal Party's recent leadership issues, that the Liberal caucus was very uncomfortable with Mr. Trudeau in his final months, but they were really powerless to get rid of him until Ms. Freeland stepped forward and wrote that very definitive letter in which she made it clear that there was great dissatisfaction with his leadership. But I prefer, and Andrew Coyne writes about this in an excellent book called The Crisis of Canadian Democracy, I prefer a system where the members of the caucus have a little more control over the leader and are not simply servants of the leader. And I think that our system works better when we return to a model like that. Bearing in mind
just that extra check and balance.
That's right. But, in our system, the First Minister has always had a great deal of power, although in the British model on which we are based, the leader of the political party can be ousted by her or his caucus, and that, in fact, is how leaders are ousted by a vote of caucus. And I'm comfortable with that.
And so this, this flows nicely into a new poll from Environics that shows Canadians are expressing lower trust in democratic institutions and greater frustration with the political process in general. Issues like responsiveness, fairness, confidence in leadership were certainly all part of the conversation in that poll. And, what do you make of these declining trust numbers? Are they surprising or just expected? Did you expect to see that?
Well, I think at this point they're not surprising. Confidence in all institutions, including the media, is at an all-time low, so far as I know. But so is confidence in government, so is confidence in the public service, so is confidence in religion. I think that people today have become very critical and very cynical because there has been a perception, and there's some truth to this, there has been a perception that these organizations have perhaps become elite.
Do you think, though, that, those who are expressing lower trust in the democratic institutions, do they fully understand the political process?
That's a good question. I'm not going to suggest in a blanket statement that most people don't understand the political process, but I will say, and I've said this on the air, and I've been saying it for years, I do think that we have suffered a loss of general knowledge of how the process works since the demise of what I would describe as civics education, mandatory civics education in the classrooms of the country. When I was growing up, some time was spent on explaining the differences among levels of government, and you know this very well. I'm sure when you served on municipal council, you were frequently consulted about matters that were not really in the strict jurisdiction of the municipality. It's important for people to understand the respective roles of government and how those roles are carried out. And it's also, I think, important to understand that we have a system which is not the old winner take all, or even the winner gets to call the race sort of democracy. In this country, the party in power usually does not have majority support in terms of popular votes. When Mr. Trudeau was elected in 2015, he came very close, or he may even have won 50%. I don't think he did. But my whole point is, you can get a solid majority government in a parliamentary system like ours without having the support of most of the voters. And that is a very important difference in our system. Mind you, I heard President Trump yesterday claim that he won the popular vote, and he did win the popular vote in the last election, but he didn't get over 50% of the popular vote. He was very close, but he didn't get half of the votes cast.
All right, it is 10:45. We're going to take a quick break right now. Steve Murphy is joining us to discuss the headlines from the week. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. 10:48 is the time. We've got some light drizzle out there and 2 degrees. Continuing our conversation with CTV special correspondent, analyst, and commentator Steve Murphy. Thanks again for joining us this morning, Steve.
It's a pleasure, Lisa.
So we had a major winter storm the first of the week on Monday, left thousands of Nova Scotia Power customers without electricity. Even after 3 days, more than 4,000 customers were still in the dark. Yesterday, I think they got down to around 600 customers, but now we are back up to 3,200 with a major power outage reported down in west end of Halifax. You know, this certainly highlights how weather events expose vulnerabilities in our infrastructure and emergency response. And you know, is this the new normal that we hear about with more frequent severe weather events, or are we just too quick to accept frequent power outages as the new normal?
Well, I think it could be a case that both are true. This may be the new normal. I don't know that we're quick to accept them. I think that we know that they seem to occur a great deal, but I don't hear a great deal of satisfaction being expressed at the reliability of the power system in the province. I mean, Lisa, look, for all intents and purposes, Nova Scotia is an island in the North Atlantic, the Mid-Atlantic, but for that little tiny isthmus that connects us to the mainland. So really, when the weather blows across here, we are at the mercy of the weather. We can't control the weather, but we certainly have some control. We certainly have some rights to control and need to control the quality of our infrastructure. I think it's fair to say that Nova Scotia would not be the easiest place to run a power system. And on the other hand, I would say that I'm not sure that we're doing, or Nova Scotia Power is doing, an acceptably good job. I don't think it would be unreasonable for a government to perhaps suggest an audit of reliability on the part of Nova Scotia Power, comparing and contrasting the reliability of our system with electrical utilities in other similar jurisdictions. Again, we have very harsh weather. And when a nor'easter blows across and we get those gale force winds, it's no secret that's tough on all of us in every respect, particularly tough for people who live their life at sea. We have a very large lobster fishery operating from Eastern Passage around to Digby right at the moment. It's hard. It affects our life in many ways. But I do think that we are seeing a tremendous number of power failures, power disruptions, and I'm not sure that it is an acceptable level. I think it would be fair, perhaps it's now necessary, to ask for an independent audit of reliability.
All right. So, listen, we're going to move on to another topic. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has been actively reaching out to some prominent provincial politicians, having some chats with Doug Ford and Danielle Smith out in Alberta. Certainly, he's been aligning with U.S. Republicans like Congressman Pete Sessions. It's being seen as part of a broader strategy to expand support, but certainly the debate has started over whether this is going to help or alienate voters. So, what do you see as the significance of these political alliances for the federal conservative strategy?
Well, the rub on Mr. Poilievre and his leadership after the last election result has been that he's been very slow to change his tone. There are those, I think, within the Conservative Party, and there are those Canadians who are politically not aligned, who found that Mr. Poilievre's tone was not particularly acceptable, particularly when the alternative was no longer Justin Trudeau. Pierre Poilievre was riding mightily high until Mr. Trudeau was gone, and then when another alternative came forward who was tonally perhaps more acceptable to Canadians, Mr. Poilievre's support, I wouldn't say it cratered, because Pierre Poilievre led the Conservative Party to one of its best results, certainly in a great many elections. But I think that tonally, there are still issues with Mr. Poilievre. And I hear this from voters who say, I don't think he represents the sort of tone in politics that I want. I heard your program yesterday getting into the question of, whether there's a Maple MAGA movement. And I'll be honest with you, I don't particularly care for that term, but I understand the point that's being made when it's used. Yeah. And that is, Mr. Poilievre strikes some people, and I'll underscore some people, as being a bit like the President of the United States in the way he approaches things. I actually think that Pierre Poilievre's considerably less belligerent than the President of the United States, but there is sometimes belligerence in his tone, and I think that is not particularly appealing to some voters in the country. So his new campaign manager, Mr. Outhouse, who, by the way, comes from the Nova Scotia political tradition, is trying to make nice with people who, frankly, are popular conservatives in the country, progressive conservatives, Doug Ford, Tim Houston among them, and I think that's good politics. Whether it's enough for Mr. Poilievre, I don't know. I'm quite certain he's going to survive this leadership vote in the next 10 days, because I think that, frankly, the system favors his being endorsed. But I continue to hear there are members of the Conservative caucus who might be prepared to cross the floor and tip Mr. Carney to majority, and that conceivably, and this is a little bit of myth-making, I haven't got anybody who's prepared to step forward and attach their name to this, that they may be waiting until after that leadership review to do that. That, again, could just be a well-traveled piece of political scuttlebutt designed to undermine Mr. Poilievre, or there might be something to it. With politics, as you well know, Lisa, it's frequently hard to tell the one from the other. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the bigger challenge for Poilievre is that those within the Conservative Party, to use a phrase, those who like him a lot. But they do. It's the general population in Canada that that seems to have a problem with him. And if making these moves, is it going to energize the base, broaden his appeal, or just turn off other voters altogether? Because Mark Carney is really the closest thing to a Conservative prime minister we've had in a very long time. Well, Mark Carney does appeal to what we would call the traditional progressive conservative or conservative progressive voter. And I'll tell you, as important as it is to make nice with people like Premier Houston and Premier Ford, I think it would be very beneficial for Mr. Poilievre to articulate some policies in response to Mark Carney that Canadians could consider. I mean, Mr. Carney has emerged from Davos as pretty much the leader of the second power resistance to Trump and Trumpism. He made a speech that's essentially a rallying cry to create a second power alternative to the American-led bloc of which we in Europe have been part since, our entire lifetimes, since the end of the Second World War. Mr. Poilievre should articulate an alternative to that if he wishes to present himself as a credible and formidable opponent to Mr. Carney. I think we need to hear alternative ideas, not just alternative personalities and not alternative style. We need alternative ideas. And I think that Mr. Poilievre should spend some time on that. And I've said before, and I'll repeat it now, and this aggravates some people who really don't like him. I think Pierre Poilievre is a considerably bright man, and I'm not sure that there hasn't been a small to a certain amount of role playing on his part to try to create an anti-Trudeau or an antidote to the Liberal Party, when really what he should do is present himself as a clear alternative, a PM in waiting, and see if he can't sell Canadians on his merits. And I guess that's the quagmire that he found himself in, that his entire personality, his entire focus was against Trudeau. And once that was eliminated, he was left with really nothing. And it took him a while to find his footing. Well, and perhaps he didn't accept it or he didn't realize it in the beginning. But I think it's a fair statement to say that the main quality that Mr. Poilievre had when he was leading in the polls was that he was the alternative, because the country had decided that Mr. Trudeau had to go. And then when Mr. Trudeau went, the alternative, Mark Carney, was seen by those middle voters. And I'm not talking about the dyed-in-the-wool conservatives and the dyed-in-the-wool liberals. I'm talking about the people in the middle. Those people were more comfortable with Mark Carney. And let me say, Lisa, that what Carney has been doing this week in Davos, and I know there are many people who listen to the broadcast who despise the World Economic Forum and are skeptical of it and all of its participants, and I understand that. But the speech that Mr. Carney gave in Davos this week has resonated well beyond the World Economic Forum and its membership to many people in the world. And I think that this will certainly do nothing but help Mr. Carney with the people in the middle who were looking for that sort of leadership in the last election. So it has very, very high-value domestic political attributes as well.
Yeah, I heard I can't remember if it was, I think it was on CNN last night, commentator calling Carney's speech the political speech of the decade. I mean, that's how the world is viewing it. Yeah.
The most consequential speech by a Canadian Prime Minister in an international forum in quite some time. And when I say consequential, you don't have to agree with it.
No,
and by the way,
exactly.
This is not the time to run all of this through a partisan lens, although partisans will be partisans, and that's fine. But we do need to look beyond the question of whether Mr. Carney is speaking as a liberal or whether he's a conservative progressive or whatever his label. He is speaking as the leader of what we call a second power nation, which Canada is. And Canada was long comfortable in that role, what was called Pearsonian diplomacy, which named for and really created by the late Prime Minister Lester B. Pearson, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for his initiatives in international diplomacy. And that is when Canada emerged as a strong second power voice, a role, by the way, to which we could and perhaps should return. But let me say this, Lisa, we've got to walk the walk. It's one thing for Prime Minister Carney to make these statements and to call on the world, to issue this rallying cry. But we have to spend the time and the money doing the things that we're imploring others to do, namely spend the money on defense, develop these relationships, and at the same time try to maintain a civil relationship with the President of the United States, who tends to take these things very personally.
Steve Murphy, CTV special correspondent, analyst, and commentator, thank you so much for joining us this morning for this conversation.
Real pleasure, Lisa. And I'd like to take a moment to say good morning to Todd Veinotte.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
and
Lisa.
Have a great day. All right, it is 10:59, and we're going to take a quick break for the news. Blake Priddle will be joining us momentarily. Then on the other side, it is the open hour, your chance to shine here. We'll take your calls at 902-405-6000. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the program. So glad that you are spending some time with us this morning. And now is the time we want to hear from you. It is the open hour right now. The issues shaping the news this week. There is so much to consider. What is on your mind? 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The phone lines are already blowing up, and Len is joining us this morning. Hey, Len, good morning and welcome.
And good morning to you. I think I was telling Vanessa we should name this program after her or you.
Oh my! Well, this is Todd's show. I'm just allowed to come and play radio on occasion. So and forever grateful for that opportunity. But what's on your mind, Len?
I just like to say that I'm very displeased with Mark Carney. He goes to China. And now he concedes that he's allowing now the electric cars from China to come into Canada.
49,000 of them.
When you think of it, we should never have put a tariff on their cars, because with the economy the way it is now, who can afford to buy a car of any price right now? I mean, people are hurting so much that it wouldn't matter what the price of cars were right now. I think the dealers are hurting right now because of the price of the inflation. So now they've reduced the tariffs on electric cars from China, which they should have done in the first place. And China would never have inflicted tariffs on Canadian products.
Well, I think you have to go back a little bit further, Len. I think a lot of the tariffs that China imposed on Canada were the result of the whole Huawei situation, when Canada took took into custody the president of that company at the request of the United States. And then, of course, there was the whole thing with the two Michaels when they were captured in China. So, certainly Canada and China have had their ups and downs over the last 10 years. But, I've heard many people describe this as a natural reset of the Canada-China relationship that, we had to get back to normal relations at some point, and this was the time to mend fences.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing is that even though it really doesn't have any significance, I don't think, on anything, is that now that they're going to allow the electric cars to come in from China, what do you think of the North American cars? How do you think they feel about this now? They must be displeased about this particular procedure now, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And Premier Doug Ford in Ontario is already screaming to the rafters about it. But I mean, it's 49,000 cars. This is my understanding is that this is the same number of cars that were permitted before all the tariffs came in and before all the upheaval. 49,000 electric vehicles, I don't think is going to break the North American car market. And who knows, it might even get them to collectively move faster on some of this technology.
Well, what Mark Carney should do as a good leader, and I hate to say this, but I don't think he's a very strong leader myself personally. But if he's going to do the same, if he's going to concede the tariffs from China, why doesn't he talk to the United States on the same thing about us removing our tariffs if they remove theirs?
Oh,
wouldn't that be the way to go?
Oh, if you could predict what the United States was going to do from day to day, moment to moment, absolutely. There is no predicting what he is going to do.
I know. You can't tell what Trump's going to do.
No, exactly.
Anyway, have a good day, Lisa.
All right, much appreciated. Thank you so much, Len. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. John is joining us. Hey, John, welcome to the program.
Hi, Lisa, and Happy New Year. I just want to thank you for your service as counselor previously, and you're doing a fine job.
Thank you very much.
I'm calling from El Salvador.
What?
I used to be a resident of Sackville. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm calling from El Salvador. I listen to the radio every day, talk radio, to see what everybody's talking. I'm going to talk fast so I don't get cut off because I don't know how much time I got. But I called Lisa to pay my last respects to HRM, Nova Scotia, and Canada. The prime minister that we have now and the previous prime minister, I hate to say it, but true gangsters. The news story that I heard on my feed here Friday night past was that Prime Minister Carney was the one that gave the okay to prosecute all the truckers about 4 years ago, and none of that's brought up. So I don't want to bring up the past, but again, let's go back to HRM and counselors. Listening, every Monday, some of these folks have no idea what's going on. Yeah, they're going to look at everything that people suggest, and yeah, we'll look at it, but nothing's going to get done. Lisa, nobody's talking about 15-minute cities, and that's what HRM, I believe, is going to be. So unless people really stand up and rise up, you're going to be steamrolled. Just another quick point here, Lisa.
Yeah.
We always talk about dictators and stuff like that. Well, you need to really, really redefine that. So here in El Salvador, where I live, there's no crime, okay? There's no guns. There's nothing like that. The streets sometimes are patrolled by police or military. Am I worried? No, because I'm not doing nothing wrong. They're protecting me. But in Canada, it's all a safety thing. Safety, safety, safety. And those things cost money. And again, for Canada, Lisa, quickly, Canada's going down a really steep, bad path. And I decided to leave Canada, 2 years ago? I'm not fully out of there, but I will be very, very soon. And like I said, I'm in my retirement years here. 12 degrees on it's 30 degrees every day.
Yeah.
And so life is good. So again, Canada's in for a really rude awakening, Lisa, and thanks for being open-minded to everything.
Yeah, can you go back for a second? Because I've heard the phrase 15-minute city thrown around, but I don't know if I completely understand what, I mean, certainly this was something that was never discussed during my time on council. What is the 15-minute city? What are you talking about?
Well, because you don't need a car, you can get around, you can get all your services from a point where you're at within 15 minutes. So you can take a bus and get your groceries. You can walk, you can take a bike. So you're compacted in, let's say, a square, and you don't have to leave that square because you have everything in there. They don't want you to leave outside of your municipality or your area. Now, I stand to be corrected on this, but like I said, I've been looking at that. So a 15-minute city is keeping an eye on you. Expect cameras. I don't know if you guys discussed cameras the last time. I don't think. But I think that's where our climate money on our taxes are going, to surveillance people. Again, that's just my opinion. But again, Lisa, just things are so expensive in Canada. I don't know how people are doing it. And things are just beginning, especially property taxes in Sackville. I used to own Hella's Restaurant. I don't hold that back. I'm doing fine. Social media destroyed me, 5 years ago. I didn't really understand it. But hey, I'm on top of the world, Lisa. And like I said to all my friends and followers, be alert, you guys, and fight for your freedom. Thank you, Lisa.
All right.
Thank
it
you,
is
Lisa.
11:14 is the time, and 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to call. Okay, I think I get a better sense of what he's getting at with the 15-minute city. I mean, I certainly remember that being a conversation as a, for urban design, but certainly not a security issue that wants to keep people contained within a certain area. I'm not sure where that has come from, but certainly not part of the conversations that I had when I was at the council table. All right, we're going to take a quick break for now. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategy. Stay on the line, Gloria. We'll get to you in just a moment. You're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment.
Burn.
Welcome back to the show. So glad to have you with us this morning. It is 11:18, and we've got some light drizzle happening out there, and we're at 5 degrees. Things are going to bottom out temperature-wise for the weekend. We'll have Alistair Alders joining us tomorrow to discuss the weekend weather. Right now, though, it is the continuation of the open hour. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 are the numbers, and Gloria is joining us. Good morning, Gloria. Welcome.
Good morning, Lisa. Thank you. It is a kind of a miserable day. I had to go over to the Dixon Center early this morning, and it was a timely drive, let's say.
Oh, no. I hope everything is okay with you, my dear.
Everything's fine.
Excellent.
Anyway, Lisa, have you seen the report on the Wonders grants?
I have not. No. Fill me in. What's going on?
Well, the operating cost is $13 million for 1 year. You must have been there when the agreement was signed with them, the original one, in 2019.
I would have been, yes. Yeah.
Yes, and HRM didn't know how to operate it, so they turned the operation over to HWFC and relied on them to operate it. We have a operating cost for one season, just over $13 million. That's for a temporary stadium on land that HRM already owns. The extra $385,000 explicitly unbudgeted cost overruns. And then we pay them to operate it. That's $13 million we have to find in our budget.
And so your issue is that this is more expensive than having HRM look after it?
What would you think about an unbudgeted cost overrun of $590,000?
Well, I certainly know that, I tried to avoid that like the plague when I was on council, because certainly we see it at the provincial level, and not a fan of it.
Well, let's talk about the HRM level right now.
Oh,
Here's
no,
almost $600,000, a cost overrun that we taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill for.
Yeah.
I've called the Auditor General's office, and I've asked them whether they will or not. They're there at my pleasure. There wouldn't be an Auditor General if it wasn't for me. I put the motion forward, got support, got the Auditor General. This is something that they should be looking into. This is disgusting. This is disgraceful.
So what are they getting for all that money? Like, what is the driver behind this cost?
We don't know. It's unbudgeted expenses. They're not set out in the report what the expenses were.
And so are you saying that this decision was made in private, behind closed doors, like during an in-camera session?
No, I don't think it was made in private. The council was part of it.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't made in private. I'm not saying it was done behind closed doors. I'm saying what a great decision for the taxpayers. And somebody should look into why we made such a decision.
All right. I'll leave it there for now and do a bit of digging because that sounds like an interesting report. Thank you so much for your time.
I had the report sent to me this morning from the clerk's office.
Okay.
So you can easily get the report.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Gloria, for joining us today. 902-405-6000. We have phone lines available also at 1-877-801-8255. Another story that I saw earlier this week is that there was a survey just out suggesting that 17% of Americans would like the United States to annex Canada. 17%. Now, that certainly is a headline-grabbing result and should have us talking about national identity and our relationship with our neighbors. But, you know, how seriously should we take survey results like this? Is it really meaningful debate or just clickbait? You know, what might this say about how Americans see Canada right now versus how Canadians see themselves? And does the media's framing of these numbers just amplify misconceptions? Perhaps that's something that you would like to talk about at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Some other things going on around town here in the province. A new transitional care center has opened in West Bedford. And it's designed to help patients who no longer need to be in hospital, but they're not quite ready to go home. And these often are seniors or people recovering from illness or injury that need maybe some extra rehab, daily support, or supervision while they continue their recovery. Now, the goal is to free up hospital beds while still giving patients appropriate care. And it also raises questions about staffing, access, and whether transitional care is perhaps becoming a substitute for long-term solutions. What do you think? 902-405-6000. Do you see transitional care as, a smart bridge between hospital and home, or maybe it's a sign that the system is still stretched too thin? Maybe you or a family member has gone through something similar. What worked? What didn't? Give us a call. Let us know. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. This one was interesting. There are new numbers out showing that Halifax ranks third in the country for traffic congestion. That's a huge jump for a city our size. And as this region continues to grow, certainly more people commuting, the roads are busier, and delays becoming a daily frustration. Also raises questions about infrastructure, transit planning, and how growth is being managed. So is traffic noticeably worse for you compared to a couple of years ago? And what do you think would actually make a difference right now? Is it better transit, more road projects, different work-from-home policies, or something completely different? 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Going back to the phone lines where Tony is joining us. Hey, Tony, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
So far, so good. What's on your mind?
I would like to talk about Nova Scotia Power.
Okay. Were you left in the dark after the storm on Monday?
Well, we didn't have it Sunday night at 2 a.m. and it came back on at Tuesday night at 7. It was quite
a
haul. It was, growing up, Lisa, I don't ever remember any power outages, even for a little snowstorm.
Yeah.
Because what they had to do, they had to go around trim the trees. And I'm soon going to take a video on my road where the branches are all hanging over the power lines. And this is nothing but a burden to the taxpayers, because we got to bring linesmen in from other provinces. And look, they're doing a wonderful job. I just want everyone to know I'm not criticizing any of the workers.
No.
I'm criticizing the decisions of Nova Scotia Power. Like, this is 2026. We shouldn't be sitting in the dark freezing. I lost 2 days' pay because of it. I'm not impressed. Why isn't Tim Houston doing something about it? Steve McNeil talked about a monopoly, breaking that, and not one government since he proposed that has done anything. Like, the government isn't forced, Lisa. If they were, we'd be sitting home with power.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you, if we lost power, Lisa, it wouldn't be that often.
Oh,
like
and
it is now.
Oh, for sure. And, certainly, and you think back, I mean, this is nothing new. The top brass at Nova Scotia Power know exactly. I mean, they've been fined. They've had fines levied against them because of the lack of predictable service. I mean, this is something that they are well aware of, but we just don't see any movement on fixing the problem because we're still getting these lengthy power outages after storms that were not all that significant. I mean, 15 to 20 centimeters and no wind shouldn't take out a full quarter of Nova Scotia Power customers.
Well, Lisa, I lost 2 days' pay because of it. The gas to run my generator, and that doesn't heat our whole place. It's just a little teeny infra heater. Like, it was 50 degrees. It was still freezing. I was owed all this money, and all this simple stuff could save everybody tons of money if our government would have it legislated that either NS Power cuts the tree branches or the province takes it back, because this isn't acceptable. I mean, people can't work. They can't do anything. Can you imagine not having a shower? It's horrible.
Yeah.
Or being able to clean your teeth and all these inconveniences. And I know people say livemen are putting their lives at risk. Well, they don't need to put their lives at risk if these tree trimmings were done regularly, period. Anyway, actually, NS Power is putting their own workers at risk out on these lines when they could be fixing the problem to begin with, Lisa.
All right, listen, we're going to have to leave it there now for now. Tony,
Thank you, Lisa.
Appreciate your time. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues after the news. Hang on the line, Chris. We will get to you momentarily. Blake Priddle is standing by with the headlines. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment.
It's the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio, where Halifax comes to talk. Back with more in a moment.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers for the open hour. We continue to throw the show over to you, whatever is on your mind. Lauren, stay put. We're going to get to you in just a moment, but Chris has been waiting patiently. Good morning, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm not bad.
Excellent.
I was kind of wondering about the number, that 17% of Americans that, would favor an annexation of Canada. Could you tell me a little bit more about who operated that and how the data was put together? Like, do you have that info?
That is a good question. This was a survey out of the U.S. I'm not sure which survey company did it, but it was one of the big U.S. Polling companies.
Right. Okay. So that would be my first stop. So number one, 17% is a fairly high number of theoretically possibly high school educated, non-political people. I work down there. The people that I talk to every day, they have really no idea about what type of rhetoric is happening with our country and theirs. They just see it as kind of a big flap that doesn't really mean anything to them.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating in itself. But what I find happening, especially with myself, I can only speak for myself, is that those types of polls, those types of things are almost on purpose to enrage us. And I'm not sure if I mean, it certainly gets me on their news site, and it gets me, engaged in this. But I don't think any of it is true. I think if this was taken in the south of the United States, yeah, I could see that 100%. I mean,
right.
People in the southern United States really are geographically far enough away from us that, I mean, look, most of these people, they don't know the first thing about Canada. And the idea that it would be in their hands to even, push a directive like that is astronomically ridiculous.
Yeah.
Way more complicated than that. I mean, you were a politician. You understand that, the stuff that the public, consumes from news is rarely what's happening, behind the scenes. There are so many things. And those types of numbers, I wouldn't give them much thought.
All right.
It certainly does enrage me, as I'm sure it would many. Yeah. But, and another one, just quick point.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the power, Nova Scotia Power, or Emera. What I've heard from the industry people, like in the wind industry specifically, is that Emera's really only focused on transmission of power to larger clients and the U.S. They don't really give they don't really care about us. So this is just going to continue until the utility becomes a utility again and not a private industry. But that's just my thing. Thank you very much. You take care, right? All
right, you too. Thank you so much, Chris. And listen, off the top, Chris asked about the origins of that poll. This was a survey, an online survey of 1,002 U.S. adults conducted between January 13th and 15th, and it was initiated by the research company. That's the name of the group. The president, Mario Canseco. So it was done by one of the more reputable polling companies in the United States. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 is the number to call. Going back to the phone lines where Lauren has been waiting. Hey, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Lisa. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's on your mind today?
So I wanted to talk about the transitional care facility in Bedford.
Oh, yes.
You brought it up earlier.
Yeah, the new one on Hogan Court in West Bedford.
Yes. I had a family member who stayed there for 6 weeks last spring, and I spent a good chunk of time visiting her, and it's a beautiful facility. No one will tell you it's not a beautiful facility, but I was shocked by how understaffed it was at the time. I'm hoping they've updated that. But no one's really talking about the fact that it's being run by Shanix. It's a Nova Scotia Health facility in quotes, but it's staffed by Shanix employees, which always seems to have a shortage of employees compared to Nova Scotia Health. Also, they're not unionized, so they don't get the same pay as Nova Scotia Health employees. And I know with my family members stay there, I witnessed some pretty not great care when she was there. She at times had to wait almost 2 hours while she was screaming and crying to go use the washroom for staff to come. And I had to go and speak to staff to get them to come. They were all sitting at the nurse's station. And then when they did come, they only had 2 CCAs, and one of them was a male. And I had explained multiple times she didn't want to be cared by a male. She had some sort of traumatic incidents around that. She didn't want to be cared for by a male attendee, and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're understaffed." Yeah. So I don't know how well the patient care is. I'm hoping it's improved since then. But the fact that $2.7 billion is going towards this, and it was already a mess when the province purchased the hotel to begin with, and then had to spend multi-millions of dollars to put it up to standards to be a hospital, because it was a hotel.
Yeah.
People forget that.
Yeah, exactly. It was originally, I don't think it ever really opened as a hotel, but it was originally designed to be one, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And I think that, the Auditor General had a report on it. It kind of got buried a bit in the previous, the first term of the Houston government. So I really hope that more people dig in on this, because I think it's just a one step closer to privatized healthcare.
I was just about to ask you. This is this the start of a slippery slope where private companies will be managing and running healthcare services in Nova Scotia? We've certainly already dipped our toe in that water with private MRI clinics and that sort of thing. Is this the next version of that?
I think it is. Also, there was no tender. for who was going to bid on taking over. They just gave it to Shannex. So Northwood, any other nonprofit organization, because Shannex is a private corporate. It's a private It's a private business that's running it instead of having a non-for-profit like Northwood or another organization running it. There was no bid for that contract. They just gave it to Shannex, which is also a little shifty in my point of view. I would have liked more open.
If it had been put out to proper tender, how much money could we have potentially saved?
Exactly. Why did Shannex get the contract over other companies?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's why we have good investigative reporters out there.
Oh, yes. And sadly, they're fewer and farther between, given the cuts in the media landscape. But another example of why small independent media is definitely where it's at these days. So much appreciate your time this morning, Lauren.
You're welcome. Thanks, Lisa. Have a great day.
All right. Take care. It is 11:44. We are going to take a quick break, but Greg, stay on the line. We will get to you in just a moment. If you want to join the conversation, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Good morning and welcome back to the Open Hour, your time to shine at 902-405-6000. It is 11:48 and cloudy and +5 out there. Back to the phone lines where Greg has been waiting. Hey, Greg, thank you so much for waiting.
Yes, how's it going today?
You know what? So far, so good. How's it going in your world?
Oh, pretty good. I just wanted to phone in and say thank God we have people like Gloria and that Chris guy that, calls in quite a bit. They seem to do the research and keep tabs on, the stuff that's going on with HRM. And
they got their pulse on what's going down, that's for sure.
Yes, and it's nice that they put their time and effort into looking after that stuff because it, I've been listening to this station since about 2005, and it just seems like with the everything that's been going on at least for the last year or so, the waste of money is most of the people don't even, like myself, don't even realize that and then of course we get the taxes being increased all the time, but we certainly don't want to be wasting money. For example, the other day, I was going down to, you heard this earlier in the week, but Harvard and Allen, they got that little intersection now closed off to the, all the traffic, including the emergency vehicles too. So the bikes have full access and the vehicles can't get down it now. So to me, from a logic perspective, I just can't figure out how they're actually closing an intersection off into a street for bikes only, and the vehicles can't use it.
Well, it's certainly not unheard of to, if we've got work going on in the roadway, it's certainly common that the roadway would be closed to traffic, vehicle traffic, but, sidewalks would be open to pedestrian traffic. So, if they're not working in the bike lanes per se, then it's perfectly okay to keep those bike lanes open. I don't know what the scope of work is in that area, but it's certainly not unheard of, that's for sure.
Oh, so from what I understood, it seems like it's a permanent feature.
Oh,
they actually blocked it off, and it says bike lanes only. That's the drift that I'm getting from it right now.
Oh, okay. Well, if somebody knows, give us a call.
Driver? Yeah, remember that taxi driver that phoned in earlier in the week, and he mentioned that to you?
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about the same thing.
Okay.
All right. Remember that? He said that? He said, oh, my God, they got it permanently blocked off. So I happen to live in around that area.
Gotcha.
That's one of the reasons why I know about it too. But yeah, so it's a permanent feature now. Is saying bikes only, and then the vehicles. And like he even said, he's the guy. He said, what about the emergency vehicles? That's more important than anything. If they're trying to get to a fire or an ambulance, now if they're going that direction, they can't get down Allen Street.
Yeah, see, I I thought it was a closure for construction. I didn't realize that it was permanent. Definitely that'll be something we'll address with the councillors on the hot seat on Monday. Listen, Greg, going to have to go for now, but appreciate your time. Thank you so much for calling. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Chris is on the line. Speaking of Chris, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. Not under these circumstances. I'm just brief because I know there's not a lot of time left, but I just want to follow up on what Gloria had called in about.
Sure. With
the Wanderers grounds. Do the math on it, Lisa. $13 million plus $600,000 overrun. $13,600,000. Take the average Halifax homeowner paying $3,000 a year in property taxes. That means over 4,500 homes. 100% of their taxes are going to fund that thing.
Okay,
that is completely outrageous. We should be storming the Bastion down there with torches and pitchforks, for God's sake. I mean, this is unbelievable mismanagement of our money. You haven't had a chance to read the report from Brad Anguish, have you?
No, I haven't. No, I just heard about it this morning when Gloria called in.
Yeah. Well, do yourself a favor and wade all the way through it, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's totally outrageous.
What is it about it that concerns you? Why does this burn your biscuits, Chris?
Burn my biscuits? The money. We can't afford this. They're looking at an $89 million shortfall if they don't increase property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You got $13.6 million of it is sitting right here. Then you've got the bike lanes. You've got all the other stuff that we don't need. This is what upsets me as a taxpayer.
So what are some of the other things that we don't need, in your opinion?
Okay, bike lanes, curb bump outs, all these streets turned into one-way streets, the closing of the intersection at Harvard and Allen, like the gentleman was just talking about, that is a cluster, you know what.
Mm-hmm.
And the bike lanes, of course. General construction on our streets where they take a traffic area like at the foot of Citadel Hill, Brunswick, and Sackville. They take the slipway out, hampering traffic going to Spring Garden Road, to South Park Street and Spell Road and so on, and all for the sake of putting in bike lanes.
And so you think
no
that
right
that is...
turns on red, all this kind of stuff. You ask any driver, you ask some of the transit drivers, you ask the truck drivers and stuff. I know people that won't come downtown because of all this. They just will not come downtown. So how does that help business? It hurts business as well because people don't want to come down here.
And so you think that that's responsible as well for the traffic congestion? I mean,
bike lanes and this sort of stuff. Of course it is.
Yeah.
When you narrow, Lisa, you're a driver, I presume.
Yes.
Okay, so you narrow a street, and you put out curb bump outs. You put in a lane dedicated for buses only that are it's hardly ever used. The bus does use it, but how many times does it run throughout the day compared to cars? Hardly none. All of these things, when you look at it, has no net result except the constriction of traffic and bottlenecking and so on.
But we're starting to get the data now that shows that people are using those bike lanes and increasingly so. Like we're seeing the numbers, the count. It is consistently going up.
Who's providing these numbers? Sean Cleary, Sam Austin? I don't believe a word those guys say when they come up with statistics on bike lane use. I drive the city every day. I drive all over the city, Lisa. I rarely, and this is anecdotal, I realize, I rarely see a bike in use on the bike lanes. Very, very rarely. Not to the degree that you would need to justify the bike lanes and the expenditure. It's the expenditure. The bike lanes have gone from $25 million to over $100 million.
Yeah, but I mean, I've never seen a penguin in person either. It doesn't mean they don't exist.
No, come on, Lisa, don't be childish. That's a ridiculous analogy. You haven't seen a penguin.
No, I mean, we've got the data. We've got numbers that are collected.
Tell me where the data comes from.
It comes from HRM data collection.
You don't think for 1 second that that's reliable?
Well,
I don't believe that's reliable at all. It's skewed. It's guaranteed to be skewed. Guaranteed.
So you would like to see an independent data collection doing the data collection for the bike lanes?
Absolutely.
All right.
Because HRM has an agenda. Our council are filled with ideological zealots that want bike lanes no matter what. Lisa, in my opinion, the gang of five down there that seem to be pushing all these negative things on the city, they have an agenda, and it wouldn't matter if those bike lanes were $1 billion. They still want to build them. It's ridiculous. We can't afford this stuff.
All right. We're going to have to leave it there for now. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Jordan is going to have the last word this morning. Hey, Jordan, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Lisa, how's it going?
So far, so good. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to second what Chris was just saying, and they are a nuisance downtown. I do drive down all the time, and there are bump outs everywhere. The congestion that it clogs with these, like they said, no right on red. You're sitting there, you're the only car there. It's a red light, and for some reason I can't turn right. They're popping up everywhere. I think that's Allen. I'm not sure if I'm the same street, but there was right up behind on Quimple, runs parallel with Quimple. And now you can't go straight through there no more. They made you turn left, or if you're coming down, you got to turn right, but you can't go straight through, so that would impede the first responders and that. It is a nuisance. I totally agree. We don't have infrastructure for the influx of people that are coming here, and now we're shrinking our streets down to nothing. It is brutal driving down there, and I drive around a lot. A personal or independent study would be great to see truly how many. Yes, I do see some bikers here and there, but not as many as what they just, in my opinion, right? It would be nice to get an independent one there that's non-biased and just gives you the actual numbers of how many people use these lanes, because our roads are bad.
All right, Jordan. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to leave that there for now. Thank you, everyone who called in this morning, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. We're now going to take a quick break for the news. Blake Priddle is standing by. And then we'll get back at it with some great conversations. We're also going to have some Moosehead tickets to give away after the news. And then discussion with Summer Street Industries to talk about their new farm. And also a chat with 5 Halifax home chefs that are competing on Come Dine with Me Canada. That's all coming up. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment.
Blackburn.
And welcome back to the show. It is 12:07, and listen, we're going to give away some hockey tickets right now. We have tickets for the Mooseheads game tomorrow night, 6:30 against Sherbrooke. If you want to be at that game, give us a call right now at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We'll take caller number 10 right now, and they'll pick up a pair of tickets to go see the Mooseheads tomorrow night against Sherbrooke. All right, take a look now to some other stories that have been making the news, and perhaps, we haven't had much time to discuss them in the past couple of days. Dalhousie has revoked the honorary degree that it is awarded to Buffy St. Marie. The award was given out in 2018, and the revoking took place after a Mi'kmaq student raised concerns about the harms of maintaining the honor. And so this decision comes more than 2 years after an investigation by CBC News into Buffy St. Marie's claims of Indigenous identity. And it uncovered a birth certificate indicating that she was born in Massachusetts to Italian-American parents that contradicted the earlier press that surrounded her whole life, really. At the time, St. Marie told the Canadian press that she is an American citizen who holds a U.S. passport and was adopted as a young adult by a Cree family in Saskatchewan. But, certainly Mi'kmaq student Aaron Prosper from Eskazoni asked the university's Senate committee last February to revoke the honorary degree. And turns out that Buffy St. Marie's appointment to the Order of Canada was also terminated around the same time. So it looks like Dalhousie University is going to revoke that degree that was installed on Buffy St. Marie in 2018. At the time, she delivered a lecture on diversity and inclusion. So it certainly is an interesting decision from Dalhousie University, and following the path of many others as well. Interesting news from the province for military veterans. Nova Scotia government is going to help military vets and reservists and their family members move into the construction sector. It was announced yesterday the province has established the New Skills Bridge Initiative. It should help about 100 people make career transitions over the next 3 years. The program will be delivered by the nonprofit organization Helmets to Hard Hats, which will offer training, coaching, and direct pathways into apprenticeship, plus also bring forward employment opportunities right across the province. One stream of support for the program will focus on classroom and leadership training, and that's going to be done in partnership with the Construction Sector Council of Nova Scotia. Another one will provide direct referrals and apprenticeship placements within the province's construction sector. Certainly that is an industry where we need all the people we can get. And the Minister of Labour, Skills and Immigration says that Nova Scotians who serve their country bring discipline, leadership and teamwork to everything they do. The program is not only to help veterans find meaningful new careers, but also strengthening our workforce and help address labor and skills shortages in the construction industry. Really great to see this. I have an attachment to the military myself. I'm the honorary lieutenant colonel for 3 Intelligence Company in the Army, and that is an incredible group of dedicated reservists. And when I watch them work and see them perform their duties, certainly it's comforting to know that the province will have their backs, I guess, when they do leave the service after giving what they can to the country. Federal government is set to launch a new artificial intelligence strategy soon. Critics are saying, though, it hasn't done enough to listen to Canadians, and pollsters are warning that the public is skeptical. And we want government to put rules in place. So the Artificial Intelligence Minister, Evan Solomon, has prioritized moving quickly on the updated strategy and has launched a consultation process, or he did so in the fall, I should say, that the government at the time said this was a sprint. So Solomon appointed a group, an expert group, gave the members 30 days to report back with recommendations, and Canadians had the same amount of time to participate in their public consultation. But certainly critics were saying that's not really enough time. The task force was criticized for being too weighted towards the industry and AI proponents. And some of those critics actually have now launched an online people's consultation on AI. So, this is upping the ante on moving fast and breaking things for sure. AI has changed the way that a lot of us work. And certainly, as we have seen with the internet and social media in general, you don't put a framework around it. It certainly is the Wild West out there. So be interesting to see where this goes next. Big morning in Hollywood. This was the Oscar nominations announced for 2026. They were up bright and early in Hollywood. The show itself is going to be on the air March 15th. Returning host Conan O'Brien is going to be at the podium to direct the show. Some of the folks that were nominated this year. Looking forward to seeing some of these movies. For Best Picture, the nominations this year are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. Long list. I think it was a few years ago that they extended the list of Best Pictures to as many as 10. Up for Best Director this year, Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Joss Safdie for Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Joachim Trier from Sentimental Value, and director Ryan Coogler from Sinners. Up for Best Actor this time around, Timothée Chalamet from Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio from One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke from Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan from Sinners, and Wagner Moura from The Secret Agent. And finally, Best Actress nominees this year, Jessie Buckley from Hamnet, Rose Byrne from the film If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson from Song Sung Blue, Renate Redzepi from Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone from Begonia. So those are the awards that were announced this morning in Hollywood, and again March 15th on ABC, the 2026 Oscars. And I think I heard somewhere too that for the first time it's going to be streamed online, so you can watch it online as well. 12:14 is the time. We are going to take a quick break, and on the other side, we're going to have a chat with Hope Swinimer from Hope for Wildlife and talk about recent coyote activity in the province. If you live out in a rural area, certainly this is a conversation you don't want to miss. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. We're going to take a quick break. You're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. And next up, it's a topic that's been generating a lot of attention here in Nova Scotia. We talked a bit about it yesterday during the open hour, but officials have issued an advisory about increased coyote activity in the province. More sightings. There's been reports of some pretty bold behavior near homes and neighborhoods. And coyotes, of course, a natural part of the ecosystem here in Nova Scotia, but when they start showing up in places where people live, work, and play, that certainly raises questions about safety. And to help us understand the trend, what it means for families and pets, and how we can respond responsibly, we have Hope Swinimer on the line. Hope is founder and director of Hope for Wildlife, an organization with deep experience in wildlife rescue, education, and human-wildlife interaction. Welcome to the show, Hope.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
So, listen, the advisory itself, the province issued this official advisory about heightened coyote activity. Can you walk us through what exactly officials are seeing and why they felt the need to alert the public now?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that the announcement was made. It is the time of year for mating season for the coyotes. So we do naturally see an increase from January to March through that time zone of sightings. But when you combine that with the fact of climate change and drought and the fires we had just this past year, a lot of habitat has been taken away from our ecosystem. So I'm not surprised. There's been more human development also. So it's going to be more the way of the future that we're going to see more of nature in our backyard. Not to mention, it is the time of year. We see it with the bobcats and sometimes the black bears that the boys tend to leave home a little sooner. The girls, the females of these species, tend to stay with mom longer, so they don't get into as much trouble. But boys, coyotes, bobcats, that kind of thing, leave home earlier, so they tend to be looking for territory, a place to make home. So, and they're not as wise and seasoned as the older animals are. So all those things combined can show a heightened number of coyotes in the area for sure.
So we definitely are seeing more coyotes. So I mean, if I understand correctly, they're being forced out of their natural habitat by food patterns, seasonal patterns, that sort of thing.
Yeah, they say that the majority of attacks or incidences between humans and coyotes can be almost totally prevented or reduced by modification of human behavior. And that's really just a lot about educating yourself and the general public. And from what I've been hearing, most of the concerns are about, people going for walks and trails or their pets.
Yeah. So, I mean, in areas where coyotes have been spotted, what are the practical steps that people should be taking to reduce the chance of encounters, both for their safety and the well-being of the coyotes?
Yeah, and there's many, many things you can do, but right off the top is if you're going for walks around in the country or even close to the city, avoid dawn and dusk. That's when they're the most active, so that's the simplest, easiest thing to do. Usually the sightings are often at dawn and dusk or through the night.
Oh, okay.
Number two is pick up all your food supply. You might be feeding the birds, you might be feeding your cat or dog outside. That's all going to attract coyotes. And not necessarily because they want the food you put out, because the food you put out may attract rodents, and that's a really good food supply for the coyotes. So they're coming in, cleaning up that. So food, as with any species of animals, incredibly important to keep under control. And, having a pet outside sometimes may pique the interest of a coyote. So being very careful when you have your pets outside. For cats, it's pretty easy. Build a beautiful catio, if at all possible, so they can have the fresh air and sunshine and have the luxury of a comfortable home inside in the winter. For dogs, a lot of people use the leashes that are expandable. I wouldn't recommend those. Use a 6-foot leash, and that gives you really good control of your animal, because you do need to be cautious, when there's been coyote sightings.
So now, what is it about sunrise, sunset, those times of the day that make interactions more likely?
Like, some animals are grouped into, crepuscular. They're dawn and dusk kind of critters, like the white-tailed deer. So coyotes are often seen at dawn and dusk. It's probably a good time for them to be hunting and communicating. So that's when you're more likely to see them. There's lots of things you can do, too, when you go out into the woods to be prepared. Make sure if you have food with you, better to leave it home. But if you double Ziploc it. Carry a walking stick. It's never a bad idea to be prepared. Carry a whistle. Just these simple little things that you can take with you that will help keep everybody safe. And you can take some spray. Also, go with a friend. If you're talking and don't startle the animal, they'll get out of your way usually. And don't be listening to music and not aware of your surroundings, around you. And if you do have an encounter, it's kind of like when you see a black bear. Make yourself stop, make yourself very big, make a bit of noise, back up slowly. I often think if you carry a pebble or a rock in your pocket, that's another thing to carry. Kind of throw it a bit of a distance away to make the coyote look at the noise at the distance. It gives you a chance to back up faster. So don't run. That triggers the response of chasing, and that's what we don't want to happen.
Right. But noisemakers, things like bells and literally bells and whistles. If you have all the bells and whistles with you, it'll be a help.
It sure will.
Yeah.
It sure will.
What about putting those types of things on your animals, like bells on your dog or cat? Will that help at all, or?
I know they've done a lot of research on that with cats and birds, and it's been proven that it doesn't make much of a difference, no.
Okay.
So it really is up to you for your pet. And that's not always easy. If you have a yard that's fenced in, you may think that pet is safe, but coyotes can jump 5 or so feet. So there are coyote roll bars you can just put along the top of your fences. And what happens when the coyote hits that roll bar, they just fall backwards and they can't get into the fenced area. Wow. So it's a bit of an expense, but they work really well, and they do keep your dog and cats protected.
Yeah. And there's a lot of fear and misinformation around coyotes as well. How do you strike this balance between, be aware, be cautious, but, don't demonize an important native species in the ecosystem?
Exactly. Like the same people that call me maybe with a complaint about too many geese on their property are the same people that might call me that they're scared because there's coyotes and they've trapped and removed them or shot them. So number one is you've got to understand the ecosystem. Just by keeping these larger predators around, they do coyotes will often eat goose eggs and that kind of thing. So they help control the ecosystem. The rodent populations will go down, all of those kind of things. And just like you said earlier, we tend to over worry. There's only ever been 2 recorded incidents of fatal attacks by coyotes in U.S. and Canada in the last 50, 60 years. And when you compare that to dog attacks, there's 30 to 50 a year of people that are killed by their pet dog. So there's far more risk of the family pet than certainly of a coyote attack and that kind of thing. And there's so many things we can do to educate ourselves and make make us as community feel more comfortable sharing our space.
And that was going to be my next question, because, Hope for Wildlife, you guys are certainly on the front lines with wildlife rescue and public education as well. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see people make when they encounter or try to help wildlife?
I guess when they're trying to help it is they might hold on to it a little too long when it's recovering. The quicker we can get an animal into us, the more likely we're able to save it. Now, coyotes fall under a different jurisdiction, DNR. We are not permitted by DNR to do coyotes, so they would fall under DNR's mandate. But just learning to live with them is incredibly important. But for all the species, most species that we'll run into, say a bird hits your window or your cat brings you home a squirrel, or all those kind of day-to-day things that happen, it's calling the hotline immediately and getting them into medical care as quick as possible. That's what makes a difference.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Hope Swinimer, founder and director of Hope for Wildlife, thank you so much for joining us to discuss this important issue in the woods this week.
Thank you so much for having me. You take care.
All right. Have a great afternoon. It is 12:27. We're going to take a break for the news. Blake Priddle is standing by. Up next, we're going to head up to New Glasgow, where Summer Street Industries has just opened up a brand new farm. And so we'll talk to the group about that. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And welcome back to the program. It is 12:35, and so glad to have you with us during the noon hour. Up next, we're heading up to New Glasgow, where a project has taken root that blends local food production with community inclusion and meaningful employment opportunities. Summer Street Farm is a year-round, participant-led indoor farm that officially opened after years of planning and support from the community. The farm is going to grow fresh produce hydroponically and help improve local food security while providing some hands-on work and skills training, plus paid employment for people of all abilities. It's part of a broader social enterprise model at Summer Street Industries. And joining us today to talk about the farm is Cathy Munro, Farm Social Enterprise Manager at Summer Street, Bob Bennett, the Executive Director at Summer Street Industries, and farmer Brandon Rankin, who is getting in there with his fingers in the dirt and telling us why this matters for Summer Street and for Nova Scotia. So welcome everyone to the show. Glad to have you here.
How's it going?
Hey, not too bad. Not too bad. Listen, Summer Street Farm, it grew out of a broader social enterprise effort over at Summer Street Industries. So, how did the concept for the farm come about, and what were the goals that you had in mind from the very beginning?
Well, the project came about because 7 years ago, our participants, the people who received services from us, asked us said they wanted to do three things. They wanted to grow food that they could eat. They wanted to grow food that we could sell so they could have a job and get paid growing the food. And the third thing, and this was the most important thing to them, they said they wanted to grow food to help those hungry people out there.
Excellent, excellent. So some of the food that is grown here will be going to food banks at local nonprofits?
That's true, yeah. They had at least a third of it.
All right, excellent. Well, Brandon Rankin is one of your farmers. And Brandon, what crops are you excited to be growing at the farm this year, this growing season?
We have different kinds of growth. We have butterhead, and we have green stall. We have different kinds. And I just love it because I can just put my hands in there and just get the feeling of it, knowing that I'm doing something for the community.
That's fantastic. So, Cathy, can you tell me, is there going to be an outdoor component to the hydroponic farm, or this is strictly indoor farming for now?
Well, for now, that's the focus of our project. The indoor hydroponics, it's a controlled environment agriculture, so it allows us to grow consistently 365 days a year, which is a really important element to this project, you know, being in Nova Scotia where we can be a little bit food insecure in a lot of ways, right? We're really dependent on the south, especially in the winter months, for our fresh things like different types of salads and greens. So we're focused mostly on launching that project, but we do have some exciting small things up our sleeve to help also bring in other community partners throughout the year with some outdoor projects.
Yeah, now it's my understanding that the food that's going to be grown, it's going to help supply your own group there at Summer Street Industries, but also the local farmers market and maybe even a future farm store are part of the vision?
Yes, we actually, it's not a vision, it's reality. So the February the 11th will be the first day that our farm gate store will be open. So people will be able to come right here to 72 Park Street in New Glasgow and purchase greens grown the day, harvested literally the day before, as well as other local produce and consumer packaged products, shelf stable things that we can help create partnerships with other local small businesses. And create those important employment opportunities for our diverse population of folks.
Well, and not only that, but wow, as you've mentioned, what a great boost for local food security. The fact that this locally grown produce will be available at reasonable prices for everyone in the community to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been really hard, especially this summer with the drought. For local farmers and unpredictable climate change. It was a really important part of our project that it was as sustainable as possible. So we have a large solar component of the project, and Bob might be able to talk a little more about that.
Yeah, because I was just about to ask that, certainly this facility has been designed to be accessible, to operate year-round. And the sustainability was really a key goal from the very beginning. What kind of growing system does the farm use, and how does that help in terms of environmental footprint of farming?
Well, Brandon can tell us what kind of medium, what are we growing most of the plants in? They actually float on?
We have them on raft. And then the stuff that the seeds go into is rock wool that we use. We don't use dirt, we use rock wool. And it's pretty easy to work around with.
Yeah, so with hydroponics, it's all a water-based system, right? And then we can feed the plants through added nutrients. But one of the advantages for sustainability is that it uses 98% less water than conventional farming. So, that's a really important part as climate change creates unpredictable seasons like our drought this year.
So you guys really thought of, everything from the seed to the eventual produce, how this could all be done with as small an environmental footprint as possible.
Yeah, we hope to be a model for other communities to be able to do the same thing, as well as opportunities for our local high school to come in and understand that agriculture is more than just conventional farming, and it can be a very inclusive opportunity for people with diverse abilities.
Yeah, and you, if I understand correctly, you've had a lot of community partners that have worked together with Summer Street Industries to make that happen.
Yeah, we sure have. We include government in that. So you got the government of Canada through ACOA. You've got the province of Nova Scotia through the Department of Agriculture and the Departments of Community Culture, Tourism and Heritage. We also have our own Summer Street Foundation, which is supported by, local donors and, so they're contributing there. And then from a sustainability point of view, a local businessman, a lawyer named Jamie McGilvery, he sponsored the community pod for a year. So everything that we grow there, we can, it's covered, the cost is covered of growing it is covered, and we're able to gift that to food, through the food bank and other ways for people that are facing food insecurity.
Excellent. So now, how do the Summer Street Industries participants, how do they get involved or get hired on to the farm? How does that work?
Well, right now, there three of the farmers are our clients, and then there's the spin-off jobs. So somebody has to deliver. Somebody's going to have to wash the products. And then there's the farm gate store, so people will be working there. And then when we go to the farmers market, people will be employed to represent us and sell our produce at the farmers market, and other things as they pop up, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, certainly that's a great combination of economic viability and social impact in under one hydroponic farm. What are some of the lessons that you've learned so far in this journey?
That it's pretty amazing when you put something out to a community and you're doing something that has really deep, meaningful roots, how everybody wants to be involved. And we've seen that right through this entire project, how something so meaningful could bring in so many amazing community partnerships.
Yeah.
Well, and just think about it. You got people with that have diverse abilities, and all they want to really do is, at the end of the day, they want to help people, that they deem to be less fortunate than themselves. And maybe if the rest of us started following their lead, the world would be a little bit of a better place than it is right now, overall.
Absolutely. So listen, the farm is now open. It's operational. Spring will be here in less than 60 days. And that, of course, marks a new growing season. Mind you, with hydroponics, you guys can grow 365. But, what are your hopes for the next year with this farm? Where do you want to take this next?
Well, we certainly, our plant, we will not be growing the same green leafy things in the summer that the local farmers are growing. I mean, that's by design.
Yeah.
So we're not going to grow spinach in July and August when the local farmers are growing that, but we are going to grow it this time of the year. I mean, the other thing that we'll do with our farm gate store, if there's local farmers that want to sell their produce, during the week, other than at the weekly farmers market at a different time. We're happy to have them join us. And to be honest, we'll barter with them. I mean, if they've got produce that they would like to trade, we will trade that for green leafy things, and then we'll probably use it within our own social enterprises, or our own clients might take it home to eat it, or we'll gift it to the food banks.
All right. Bob Bennett, Executive Director of Summer Street Industries. Cathy Munro, Farm Social Enterprise Manager at Summer Street Farm, rather. And Brandon Rankin, a farmer from Summer Street. Thank you so very much for joining us this afternoon, and good luck with the farm, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
All right. You take care. Thanks. It is 12:45. Quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And it is 12:48. A little bit of drizzle out there and 5 degrees. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. And, well, now, a hairstylist who cooks like he's feeding a crowd of 40, a fiercely competitive sales manager with a flair of comfort food. They are joining us this afternoon. They are both Halifax home chefs, starting in the latest episodes of Come Dine with Me Canada, airing, today, I think, the 29th and February 5th on the Food Network. So if you're not familiar with the show, it brings together 5 amateur chefs who take turns hosting dinner parties in their own homes, putting their cooking, their hosting skills, and definitely nerves to the test for a cash prize. It's part competition, part personality showcase, and very much a peek behind the curtain of real kitchens and real people. And joining us to talk about the show, we have Graham Macdonnell from Fall River and Cheryle Deveaux from Dartmouth. Welcome to you both.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right. So listen, what made each of you decide to put your name forward for Come Dine with Me Canada? Did you know what you were signing up for?
I don't think I really knew what I was signing up for, but I think we all signed up for some fun and to meet some new people. And that's completely what it was about. So a good group of people coming together and entertaining for sure.
And you, Cheryl?
I 100% knew what I was signing up for.
Yeah.
I love to cook, and I always said if that show ever came back, that I would absolutely apply for it. I was actually in Greece when I got the notice on social media, and I took the time on my vacation to apply. So that's how much I wanted to be on.
Wow. Well, I mean, this is a completely different beast. I mean, cooking for friends is one thing, but cooking for competitors and under the glare of lights and cameras is something completely different. What surprised you most about cooking in that environment?
I think the timing. I think when you're maybe a little bit of a type A personality for cooking and entertaining and breaking down timing to set it up for a TV episode, it's definitely, it throws you for a loop, and it kind of shows you what you can really do when you're on a time crunch. It's a little more stressful than you think.
Excellent. Cheryl?
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. When you're planning something, you generally try to do a lot in advance. And on a show like this, it's more difficult to do that. They really want you to do everything in front of the camera. So to Graham's point, it's around the timing.
Gotcha. So when you say the timing, you might be working on a sauce that it requires 3 minutes of simmering, but it's going to take 5 minutes for the cameras to set up, and it's like you've got to stretch, or you've got to speed things up to accommodate the cameras.
Yeah, and they have a schedule. They have a schedule of what they want to see, and you're trying to manage your food as best you can in that schedule, and trying to host as well at the same time.
Wow.
And basically, there's a lot of balls in the air.
And when you're entertaining, you tend to, like for me at least, I prep a lot in advance.
Yeah.
So I have 90% of my meal ready to go so that I can enjoy my guests. In this situation, you needed to do it in front of them. So that was a little bit different. It was fun, though. Absolutely fun. I would encourage anybody to apply. I know it's coming up again. Apply. It was awesome.
Okay. Well, Graham, your cooking has been described as bold, over the top, and driven by big flavors. Cheryl's has been described as confident, eclectic, and rooted in comfort. How would you describe your own cooking philosophy in your own words, Graham?
After doing this show, maybe a little chaotic.
Yeah.
I think maybe a new perspective on my cooking. I think I am still that. I still like to cook for a group of people. I do well under pressure typically.
Yeah.
And maybe after our episodes tonight, we may think differently. But yeah, I think still, like, I love cooking for groups of family and friends, and doing big food. That's all I know how to do.
Big food.
I don't cook small.
Yeah. You don't do dinners for two.
No, there's no dinners for two.
That's not your wheelhouse.
And I have 3 kids, so it's like cooking for 9 because they eat a lot. So,
Cheryl, what about your cooking philosophy in your own words?
My cooking philosophy is when I'm cooking, and depending on the group, I try to cater the meal to them. So if it's something that I know that they like, if that person likes, then I will cook to them. I like any kind of food. There's really not a lot of food that I don't like. So I like to go to restaurants, try it, and then come home and try to mimic it, and then do that when I'm having my next meal. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And a large part of this, if I understand correctly, so the competitions were actually in your house.
Yes.
You were cooking in your own home, and who was attending the dinner party? Was it your own friends, or were these
no? So 5 complete strangers. So the whole premise of
the
whole premise of the show is you come together, host 5 dinner parties with 5 complete strangers. So the first night, they're really complete strangers. As you move through the week, obviously, you get to know each other. Mm-hmm. So then you have a better idea as you move through. But yeah, it's a really interesting concept. And it's cheeky, and it's fun, and it's a great concept.
So the diners, do they have any culinary experience at all, or are they just some randos that they've pulled off the street for this?
So it's kind of the same. Everyone's either has experience cooking. You kind of assume everyone's coming in because they like to entertain or host. And so everybody has a variety of skills, basically, across the board. But it's a little bit of everything.
Well, and this show is it's about hosting as much as it is about the food. What part was harder for you, Graham? Was it the menu or managing that dinner party energy?
It was definitely a lot for me on my night. I mean, you'll have to tune in to see, obviously. Tonight we have Cheryl's episode, so you'll see that. And we've already had one episode already play last week, so you get the gist of us meeting for the first time. But it was definitely the timing, the hosting, and trying to, like Cheryl said, appease everybody, make sure everybody's happy, and with the time restraints of the show, making sure that everybody is getting the hosting skills that you typically would do. You know, make sure people's glasses are full, and having that Nova Scotia cheer.
Yeah, and so you were judged on that as well, your ability to make sure that everybody had full glasses and full plates, and
we were judging that. I don't know if anyone else was.
Yeah, we're the judges. So that's the whole premise of the show too. So the person who's hosting, so I'm hosting one of them tonight, then the rest of the group, then they rate me on appetizer, entree, dessert, and hosting.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I just can't get over the doing it in your own home.
That was my favorite part.
Was it really?
That was my favorite day. So anybody who's thinking about doing it, you got to do it if you love to cook. I always dreamed of doing it in my house. So that was my favorite.
And do you have a kitchen that is geared towards so you come equipped. You come equipped. So, without giving anything away, was there a moment during the filming that made you think, "Oh, this is definitely going on television"?
I think we had a lot of moments of that. I think it's good that this is talk radio because after our first night, which is easy safe to say, I think facial expressions are everything. And between Cheryl and I think we certainly don't need to speak. I think our facial expressions say a million words.
Wow. So, Cheryl, what did you, for your night when you were hosting, what did you choose to cook? Did you get to pick the menu?
I did get to pick the menu.
Okay.
I don't know that they want us to share what's on the menu, so I've not been doing that.
Oh, okay.
So you'll have to tune in tonight and see what I've not even told my close friends what I did.
Oh, is it something that you're famous for, or is this something that was fairly new that you tried?
Listen, my number one rule when you're entertaining and having a dinner party is I would never make anything new that night.
Okay.
So 100% it was something, I leaned into something that I've made several times before.
All right. And you, Graham?
I fly by the seat of my pants, so I can do either. Some of it is, stuff that I've made before, and some of it is on the fly and throwing things together and just making it happen.
All right. Come Dine With Me Canada, airing tonight, the 29th and February 5th on the Food Network. Thank you so much, Graham Macdonnell and Cheryle Deveaux, for joining us and telling us about the program and sharing your experiences with it. Really appreciate your time.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right. It is 12:58, and that does it for the program for today. We are back tomorrow, of course, with another open hour. We're going to be talking as well about the latest numbers on traffic in Halifax and find out just how bad it is. Blake Priddle is standing by with your news at the top of the hour. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Let's do it all again tomorrow.